Okay, thanks very much, everybody. Thanks for waiting, and welcome to those who have just joined. Very pleased to be hosting this webinar today. My name is Matthew Slorick, and I am the Managing Director for Middle East and Africa in the Middle East here. I know that we have not only some presenters dialing in from further afield, but also some of our clients, customers, and other partners on the call. So thank you very much for dialing in. Whilst we firmly wanted to position the great functionality of the core application of Microsoft Teams, clearly we also wanted to make sure that we opened up what we consider to be best of breed complementary technologies in this area. So to use a hackneyed phrase, a bit more of an ecosystem around some of the other technologies that can complement and enhance the remote working activities, as well as the core functionality of the Teams platform. So let's just have a quick look at the agenda. Today we're going to be just giving you a very brief, I assure you, overview of CDW, a quick walkthrough for those of you who might not be familiar with CDW and our partnership with Microsoft, our global partnership with Microsoft. And then going to be handing over to Eric from Microsoft, who's going to give you some great content around Teams itself. Then we're delighted to have Matt Hurst from Ribbon, who's going to talk to you about how Ribbon are working very closely in this area around voice and other technologies, voice video and other technologies. And then finally, our friends from Poly, Christophe will be talking to you about some of the technologies, appliances and devices that Poly are bringing to market in this area as well. So as you can see, hopefully you'll get a feel for what we consider to be a full technology stack in this area. CDW, as I said, for those who may not be familiar with CDW, we're a NASDAQ listed company. We're headquartered in Chicago, or just outside Chicago, in Vernon Hills. We are typically, in each of our last 10 financial years, between 40 and 50% of our revenue comes from the US federal government. Then probably another 30% from commercial activities in the United States and Canada. And then the remaining revenues are made up from the rest of the world offices, and we're very pleased to say that we consider ourselves to be certainly nearly a fully global VAR. There are two notable exceptions at the moment, which is Russia and South America, both of which are aspirational at this point, but no immediate plans right now. But in terms of the coverage that we've got globally, where obviously our international business is headquartered in the United Kingdom. We have offices in Europe, in Ireland, and in the Netherlands. Here in the Middle East, India is quite a recent acquisition for us, and we've opened there at the end of last year. We also have presence in Hong Kong, Singapore, and in Australia to complement our APAC business. In terms of our sort of split between customer-facing roles and delivery roles, as one might call them, we continue to aim for 50% at least in service and delivery roles, and that's something that we like to talk to customers about our investment in service delivery, service excellence, and capability in deep technical roles. So today on this call, as well as Eric from Microsoft, for example, we have a number of systems architects and solutions architects that can take your questions and talk to you about deep design ideas and so on. In the UAE itself, we established this office in 2007. We service the whole of the Middle East and Africa from here, having also got an office in South Africa, but the business is headquartered here in Dubai. And as of today, we have 35 active technical consultants, plus the sales, marketing, commercial part of the business as well here in Dubai. A quick word about our Microsoft relationship. So we are one of Microsoft's top 10 global partners. We have a relationship that amounts to about $4.5 billion worth of business between the two companies. We have a CEO to CEO relationship, which we're very thankful for. And that allows us here in region to have great insight into some of the technical teams in Seattle, and obviously a lot of joint go-to-market activity as well. Our fastest growing part of that business is actually transitioning from what was traditional Microsoft licensed business now into cloud and IoT services along the number of platforms, about which a little bit more in a moment. So moving on, one of the things that CDW tries to do is to position itself with customers as a comprehensive end-to-end IT solutions provider. And a lot of people sort of talk to us about, are we particular expert in one vertical market or another? And the answer is no, because we very much look at our skill set as being very horizontal across the infrastructure stack of technology. So hopefully that graphic there gives you some idea of some of the verticals we're in. We're in medical, we're in banking, we're in finance, and many others besides. What we try to do is to look at the infrastructure stack that is best suited to our customers, and then deliver that against the partner framework that we have. And I think it's the partner framework that today I really want to sort of talk about. We're very happy, obviously, to have Microsoft, Ribbon, and Poly with us today. And along with some other brands that you can see there on the screen, we like to be able to say to our customers that the power of CDW is to bring together the best of breed across several thousand technology vendors, but only hopefully choosing the ones that we believe are right for your business as a customer, and for your ultimately your customers as well. So if we look at that stack, when we talk about our client device business, it's a multi-billion dollar business. We operate across all of the major vendors. We have a global split sourcing program that allows us to source infrastructure and equipment, whether that's in country or from wider distribution. So for example, here in the Middle East, we source both from local distribution partners. However, as I always say to customers, there's no magic IT factory here in the Middle East. So that's when we would go to our other distribution routes in Europe or further afield. And typically that allows us to bring lead times down to the bare minimum. So at the moment we are running a laptop pooled inventory of around about £5-6 million available at any one day at the moment. And our lead time into Dubai, even at the moment, is still only about 48 hours. So we really do feel that, whilst there was, it's part of our heritage, shipping hardware, for want of a better description, that's what we're really good at. And we continue to focus on that and make sure that that's an underpinning factor of our business. In terms of our relationship with Microsoft around the Teams piece, we are unashamedly sort of partnered at the hip here. We've made a massive investment in our Microsoft capability, and Microsoft have made an investment in CDW's capabilities as well. So we're part of a accelerated growth program. It's a global partnership where we 2 years ago sat down at CEO level and agreed that we would try and grow our joint business, doubling it over the next 5 years. And as a result of that, there is in excess of $100 million of joint investment between the two businesses to skill up, scale up, and go to market. So we're delighted that we're at the early part of that journey, and we continue to see the benefits both for ourselves and our customers. Our partners at Ribbon, for those who may not be aware, formerly Sonos, we are seeing a huge amount of uptake in their fixed line area of their business, and we continue to look to grow that aggressively, particularly in the Middle East region. And Poly, with its recent acquisitions, we believe is a great end-to-end device provider. And of course, they'll come and talk about that shortly. So we feel that we've got a great stack in the collaboration space. In the networking and VPN area, in the heritage area, as I call it, for potentially on-premise infrastructure as well as cloud infrastructure, but definitely coming from the on-premise side, as you'd expect, we have a very big relationship with Cisco. Barracuda and Fortinet are also great partners in this space, particularly around VPN, wide area networks, and other technologies. And then finally, as you'd expect, we are assessing who our cloud-only or cloud-first partners might be in this space. And we are seeing considerable uptake with VMware's Velo Cloud offering. ForcePoint spending a lot of money in this region, and they're a partner of ours that we are going to market with. And of course, Citrix NetScaler business is moving more and more people to the cloud every day. So hopefully you can see from that stack what I said at the beginning, which is we want to position the functionality of Teams and all the great features that it brings to you and your workforce, but also surround it with the correct complementary technology. Just sort of diving slightly deeper into our relationship with Microsoft, and particularly around the collaboration piece. We spend a lot of time investing, as I said earlier, in our competencies, but we also make sure that we are on the right platforms for our partners. So CSP or Cloud Solution Provider is in my opinion the platform of the future. So that's the monthly utility billing platform that we believe our customers desire. You basically pay for what you get, or pay for what you use rather, and 99% of our business is now shifting away from EA onto this platform. We, with our accelerated growth plan with Microsoft, we are making sure that we invest in co-workers and technical specialists, and we hope that we can meet the most challenging questions that you as a customer might have, and certainly if we don't have them on staff, we would expect to be able to put you in touch with the appropriate person within Microsoft. A note on that is that we're probably I think we are one of the only partners, if not the only partner in region, that has a direct escalation route to the Office 365 team in Seattle. So that's the design and engineering team. And that allows us to resolve particularly troublesome tickets where perhaps some of our other local partners might get lost with escalations through a local and regional management. And then finally, we look at what we're trying to do with some of the joint marketing that we've created part of this accelerated growth program. Is that we will be looking at holding workshops. Microsoft, as you would imagine, is keen for us to spend their marketing dollars in making sure that their products are put in the best light. So we will work with them and you to come on site, do workshops, pretty much at our cost, to ensure that you can understand the tools, the platform, and how you can get the best out of it. And then finally, this is my final slide. So I just kind of really wanted to talk about how this stack of technology allows us to interact with our customers. We are looking at several touch points where you might be along a project cycle or an idea, a strategy, and that allows us to sort of interact with our customers at any of several stages. So clearly we need to make sure that we're talking to our customers before they're a customer, if you like. So that's in the advisory stage, where a customer might just be simply putting together a strategy, and we're delighted to do that. Then we have obviously a great desire to do that, for us to be partners with you at the very beginning. We then have the ability to take you through an assessment situation where you might be baking off some solutions, or running mini POCs, or trying to understand if the technology is going to work for you. Obviously, there's can be different types of purchase. So it may well be that you simply purchase some licenses and you require help with implementation, and we obviously make sure that we're able to deliver those services, those professional services, to you with excellent staff. One of the areas that Microsoft does spend a lot of time talking to us about, and indeed looks to us to invest our marketing dollars, is around adoption. So when we talk about adoption in the Microsoft world, is really around using all of the features of all of the products. As I'm sure many people on this call are, power users and understand the full scope and scale of 365 Teams and other Microsoft platforms. We all know that a lot of co-workers don't necessarily understand that benefit or know about these features. So we spend a lot of time going into customers, doing workshops, doing training, specifically to help people understand the full power of a platform. So in Teams, around chat, around messaging, around shared workflows, and so on. So that for us is a key area. And then we then talk about sort of the post-purchase situation, where we, CDW, really see ourselves, it's our strategy for the next 5 to 10 years, is to say, okay, we used to provide you with managed services on site and in your data centers. Now, in the future, we need to provide you with managed services in the cloud, and that's multi-cloud, hybrid cloud, whichever type of strategy you want to deploy. And that for us is really, where we want to make sure that we differentiate ourselves from the competition, which goes all the way back to why we started the advisory process and try and take you on that cloud journey. That's it. Thank you very much for listening about CDW for a few minutes. I'm now going to hand over to Eric.
Matt, I'm just going to share my screen.
We've just had one question from Warren so far, saying, will this deck be shared? And absolutely all of the decks will be shared with you. Rad, our marketing director, will ensure that all attendees get those slides.
Right, are we good to go?
Yeah, off you go.
Thank you, Matt. All right, so just a quick introduction. So my name is Eric Moneyang. I am a senior partner technical architect based in Dubai for Microsoft Modern Workplace, which includes Microsoft Teams. I am part of the One Commercial Partners organizations and of the MEA HQ. So my coverage area include UAE and then Middle East and Africa country as a wide coverage, mostly French-speaking countries in Africa. Hobbies include football, NBAs, and watching some movies. So this is me in a nutshell. Right, before we get into Microsoft Teams itself, so we recently published a guide to working from home. I'll be happy to share the link with you after this call. That just say what we believe, every employees, users, organization should do as they working from home. You need to look at the work part of work from home quite seriously, right? So you need to set up a workspace for yourself, make sure it's in a quiet place, make sure it's a place where you have the best Wi-Fi coverage. If possible, try to use wire as much as possible. Try to be in a place where there is less distraction. It's not always easy when we live in an apartment, but yes, try to do that. Second of all, you need to find a way to stay connected with your team members, your customers, your partners. And this is where Microsoft Teams can help. And I will show you in a few slides how we can help you there. Third of all is obviously taking care of yourself, right? So manage your time and well-being. We are in very challenging time at the moment, and it's no longer about, you know, work-life balances, because work-life are now completely overlapping. So it's more about finding the right harmony between the two. So do your work and also look at your own well-being at the same time. So the guide is online, and I will be happy to share that guide with more details with you after this call. Now, Microsoft Teams. So for those who see it for the first time, I just thought I just give you a quick overview of, you know, our vision, what Microsoft vision is for Teams as a product. So the way we see Microsoft Teams, we see Microsoft Teams as the hub for teamwork. What does that mean? It means that our vision is that Microsoft Teams should be the place where every organization do their work, right? The long-term vision is Teams should be seen as your operating systems, right? So you have all your collaboration tools, communication tools, meeting tools in one interfaces. You have all your line of business applications in the same interfaces, and through integrations and workflow, you make it all work together, right? So Teams allow you to chat, allow you to have meetings, schedules or ad hoc meetings, and live events as well. We will, you know, talk about those in much detail in later slide. But one of the really key, cool functionality of Microsoft Teams is that it's really extensible. So you can basically make Teams whatever you want it to be. You can absolutely customize. Let me just use the laser pointer here. You can customize this real estate to be whatever makes sense to your organization or to your team or to these channels, right? So use that real estate here and all those tabs that we have on the top to make Microsoft Teams customized and meaningful for your organization. So through apps, and workflow, we have that extensibility, which is one of really the key functionality of Microsoft Teams. So if you use Teams, you can transform the way your workplace works. Right now, we have essential tools where we can do our work, as I mentioned before. Single tool for chat, video, meetings, where we make decisions, where we work on our plans, on our processes. We can streamline our processes by bringing our line of business application within Microsoft Teams. It can be your CRM application, your ERP application, your HR onboarding processes can be brought into Microsoft Teams so that you can have one interfaces where you streamline all of this. And the good thing about Teams is that Teams has a threaded concept. So everything stays within whatever channel or Teams you put the information in. So if you have a new joiner that joined the Teams, he will not have to go and ask, you know, people to send him emails about what happened on that Teams. He can just go by looking at the Teams, understand what happened on a given Teams. You can connect everyone on Microsoft Teams. Teams talk to a CEO, and also talk to the, you know, blue-collar workers as well. If you have first-line workers, they can also use Microsoft Teams. So Teams is really for everyone in an organization, right? So, and the last but not least, because Microsoft Teams is part of the M365 fabrics, he inherits all of the security and compliances that we have around O365. So if you look here, this is just an example of, you know, a customer trying to post credit card information, and it has been blocked. My team say, hey, you can't do that, you know, because privacy, that's a privacy problem, right? So those security and compliances come from the fact that Teams is part of the same fabric. Before we get to the demonstration, I just want to you know, highlight something I might say earlier. You know, Microsoft really rely on our ecosystem partners, and we have, you know, our friend from Poly and then Ribbon on the call today, and they're going to talk more about their offering, but we really rely on them to extend Teams to be an end-to-end solutions. So Teams provide the interface solution software for the work to happen, but in terms of endpoints, you have through the Office.com Team devices a wide selection of partners that we're working with that will allow you to bring whatever device you needed that make you more comfortable into your work environment. So important partnership for Microsoft. Now, demo. How can you, especially today, you know, if the remote working situation we're in, use Microsoft Teams to do your works? So if you look at your businesses, you know, this might be a little bit simplistic, but just to provide some context, just provide some a bit of a background on how we look at pitching Microsoft Teams for organizations. So we mostly work on projects. We have processes that we need to run, and we interact with people. So how can I use Microsoft Teams, either remotely or in office, to address each of those single points, right? How can I use Microsoft Teams in a project now that I'm working remotely? How can I use Microsoft Teams, to run our HR processes or our sales processes? Now we're all working remotely. How can I use Microsoft Teams to continue to engage with my teams, to have the team engagement, have our company town hall now that we're all remote? How can this happen? And I will demonstrate that in the next slide. So if I look at the project, again, this is pretty simplicities, but we believe that most of the project come down to those 6 main blocks. You need to have a team for the project, so you put people together. It can be internal people, it can be external consultant as well. That's part of the team. Once you have the team formed, you need to share information with the teams. Now we need to assign tasks and deadline to different team members. We have regular check meetings to see where we stand on that project. We collaborate on documents, and then we have regular check with our CEO or stakeholder for that project. So let's imagine that we're trying to use Teams to launch this event. So we have this webinar event. So what I will do first, I will go on Microsoft Teams and then create my team. And as you see here, I can invite people from outside. It doesn't have to be part of my tenant to be part of Microsoft Teams. So Teams allow you to bring guests as well into your teams, especially when you work on a project. It's important to bring consultants as well, but you're going to see them there, and the team will always alert you that, hey, the team that you just created has guests, right? This is important for you to know because you don't want to be in a situation where we start sharing company confidential information when we have guests in the team. So always make sure that you look at this notification while you work on Microsoft Teams. Yes, so I can bring people into the team. So I have my internal folks on the teams. I have my external folks on the teams. The teams is created. It's called Mark 8 Project Team. Now we need to start sharing information. So I go to the launch event teams. I go to files, and here we show you that you can upload, obviously, first-party application from Microsoft Teams, but you can also upload files from Google Drive, Box, So we allow third-party stories as well to come in, and I have all the files that you need to work on this project on one single interface. Again, this is really the key value of Microsoft Teams, is that everything that I'm going to show you during this demo all happened with Microsoft Teams. So I have my Teams form, internal, external. We put on our files all the documents that are relevant to us for this event. Those can be stored on Microsoft SharePoint by default. It can be stored on third-party sources that I mentioned. And now we need to start assigning tasks to people as part of this project. So in this demonstration, we use our first-party integration with Microsoft Planners, but you can use your own project management tools and integrate with Microsoft Teams. So we have integration native with Trello, Asana, but if you have another project management tool that you're using that is not integrated, through the help of our partner CDW, you will be able to bring those integration as well into Microsoft Teams, right? So for this example, we use our first-party integration with Microsoft Planners. So I go on Planners, I assign tasks to every single project manager on this project teams. They receive the task on their email, they get notified, they have due dates, they do their work, complete their buckets, and we move on. Again, the key here is that it's all happened with Microsoft Teams, right? Example, use Microsoft Planners, but it does not have to be. It can be any other third-party project management tool that you're using to your task and project management. So we have task assigned. Now we need to meet, let's say, on a weekly basis, remotely, to discuss the project status. So we set up meetings. I go to conversation. I can set up what we call a meet now meetings. Just join these meetings. And then you have the pre-meeting experiences where you can set up your background, you can customize the background, you can blur the background. When you're happy with your videos feed, then you can now join the meeting, and then having those conversations with your colleagues about the project. You decide, the meeting goes on, and then after the meeting is completed, the recording of the meeting going to be posted on the same team channels, conversation post. So again, for that traded persistences view of what's happening for this project. If you're using Microsoft Word, obviously you can really co-author with the Microsoft Teams. Again, I'm not opening Microsoft Word, I'm opening the Word document with the Microsoft Teams. That's really the value. We're trying to avoid as much as possible, as many context switching between applications as possible, right? So everything happens within the same interfaces. So then we have a wiki that we can use now to send the meeting note that happened through the start of this project on every single week, right? So you saw that I use Microsoft Teams to pull the team together. The team includes internal employees, external employees. We got information from Microsoft first-party application, also for third-party applications. We use Planner for our tax management, but it could have been another third party. We schedule our meetings again into the same interfaces. I did not go to Outlook set up meetings. I set up a meeting with Microsoft Teams, and all those meetings recording are stored in the same conversation tab. And then we have our wiki where we, weekly updated our key stakeholders. So your entire processes does not stop because you're working remotely today. You can continue to have your project basis processes happening through Microsoft Teams. You just need to make sure you bring those experiences into Microsoft Teams by either do it yourself or leveraging our partner from CDW. People will get it. So a second example, which I think can also be very impactful, is selling. You still need to sell, right? We have a difficult situation right now, but we still have to do some sales as well. So if I look at the sales cycle, again, high level sales cycles, you need to draft your bids, submit the orders, create an opportunity onto your CRM applications, get your manager approval, then meet again the customers to close and close the deals. So how do I enable these experiences in Microsoft Teams? I'm going to start with the draft. So this is me, Eric. So I'm going to email my manager. Hey, Elaine, I'm about to meet AdventureWorks to pitch them, our new drones. So this is my deck. Can you have a look and let me know what you think? So I'm going to go there, upload the deck that I want to show to the customers on my next webinar with the customers. I post it there. Now there she comes. She looks at my deck and then provide her feedback. Looks great. You might need to update the image of the last slide with the new one from marketing. Perfect. I'm ready to go. I got my manager feedback on the deck. Now I'm ready to meet the customers, obviously remotely now because of the situation that we have, and present that to him. So now I go to the customers. Sorry, I meet with the customer remotely through meetings. And then while I'm meeting with the customers after my presentation, I'm using what you're seeing here is a Power Apps applications, right? Again, our better together approach where we bring those experiences into Microsoft Teams. So this Power Apps application, which is a line of business application for estimation that we just built, it can be anything else, allow now the sellers to gather input from the customers. How many units they want? What type of discount do they want, right? And then any other feedback that the customer has about this opportunity. I put that all there on my Power Apps applications, which is low code, no code, supposed to be used by any citizen developers to build those applications and experiences. I have them, submit them. Now I need to create my sales opportunity. So now I go to my sales teams. If you look at my sales team here, we have dynamic integrations, but again, it can be Salesforce or some other third-party CRM applications. We have our team scorecard that shows here, Power BI, first-party integration. Again, if you want to bring third-party, you're welcome to do that. But what we're showing here is really the power of Microsoft Teams, is that the teams brought all the tools that they're using on a daily basis into Microsoft Teams so that it's easily accessible to everyone, right? So here is our Estimation Pro that we all use as sellers to get customers' business requirements. This is our team scorecard where we see where we stand in terms of achievement for the quarter and for the quarter to come. We have our price list as well here. This uses a SharePoint site, but it could have been an Excel file or another third-party application if you wanted to. That's our CRM dynamics, but again, it could have been third-party or anything else. But the vision here is that you created a team to bring all of the experiences that you're using on a daily basis in that single interfaces. You bring all of those here. If you can't do that yourself, again, as I mentioned, CDW, our partners, will be absolutely happy to help you deliver those experiences. So I'm asking my manager now, okay, so I'm pretty good with AdventureWorks. They've said that they want to take 10K unit, but they need discounted. If you can give them some discount, we might be able to close this deal. So I chat with my managers. Again, the chat is maintained. So now go in and upload my proposal, and you're going to see what's going to happen. So I'm uploading my proposal into Microsoft Teams, and our Teams is going to create a Power Automated that used to be called Microsoft Flow that will send that proposal, that approval request to my manager. Now she's going to receive a card into Microsoft Teams. I will say, hey, Eric wants a discount on this thing. Do you approve? She approved. The deals is good. I get my approval from my manager. Say thank you very much. I'm good to present that out to the customers. Now, if you look at what happened to the file that I uploaded, it's not going to move from pending to approve. Again, it's a Power Automate process that we created that you can also create it yourself. But just to show you the power of Microsoft Teams, it's not just about Teams itself. It's the fact that Teams bring Power Automate experiences, Power Apps experiences, Power BI, Dynamics, third-party CRMs, third-party team text management solution, line of business application to provide a single experience for all your users. So I got my proposal approval now. So now it's time for me to meet and call the customers and then, tell him the good news. So on Teams, we just want to show you that you can also use Teams on your mobile application. You don't have to use the desktop or web clients. The mobile client is also pretty powerful. So here we're going to have a conference calls. And what we're showing you here is that you can also have people on their PSTN line on the conference call. And this is where, our partner from Ribbon really help us massively because they're bringing those gateway experiences for PSTN for us to deliver this. So customers on the line, hey, we got your discounter. This is your proposals. What do you think? Customer is happy. The call is completed. The recording of the call again stays within Microsoft Teams on their channels. Now I can just, using give fees and MEA for engagement purposes and for my team about me closing the deals, right? We close the deal. Hey, great work the teams. So the entire cycle for me talking to my manager initially, drafting my presentation, getting feedback from my manager or my coworkers, getting customer business requirement into our Power Automate, Power Apps application, creating my sales opportunity on my CRM, or submitting my proposal to my manager for approval, getting the approval done through a workflow. All of those interaction experiences, as I mentioned before, I preserve and save within Microsoft Teams. That's really the value of Microsoft Teams, is the place where work happens, right? You continue to do your work into that single applications, no matter where you are. You being in the offices or remotely should not make any difference in how you need to engage those processes. Last one is, what do we do about driving culture transformation while we working remotely? How can we continue to use tools to drive that team engagements? How do we engage people remotely as well? As I mentioned on my initial slide, I talked about the guidance for remote working. You need to engage with your teamwork as much as possible. Try to have, we have internally, we do some water cooler type meetings every week with our teams, right? So we all go into meetings, cup of coffee next to your water cooler at home, and then it's a meeting only for fun. It's not talking business, just talking about our days and stuff like that. So how can you enable those activities and experiences into Microsoft Teams? So one of the cool things that you do on Microsoft Teams is that you can also have a group chat. You don't have to have a Teams to be able to collaborate. You can just create a chat for a specific event. So this is me, organizing a group chat for, hey, Joe 5-year anniversary. This is purely to create inclusive conversation and team engagement. This is team member talking to each other. This is not really business friendly, but really the team member talking to each other to continue the engagements. So we're going to do this. Should we go do karting? And then somebody told me that, hey, for karting, Ivan is the expert, so I cannot add Ivan into these meetings. And what you saw is that when I add them, I can decide to show him the entire history of our chat, or just show him, whatever, not only from this point on. So Ivan joined the meetings, and then we organize the go-karting, and then everything is perfect. Okay, so obviously with Teams you can like messages, you can add them, you bring all of those instead of saying yes, okay, thank you, you can add them. Another cool feature that just quickly shown here is that you can also use Microsoft Teams to translate. If you really want to bring inclusivity into your company, you want to be able to allow your employees to communicate in Microsoft Teams into the language that they're more comfortable with. For me, it's going to be French. I'm a French native speaker, so I'm much more comfortable speaking French than speaking English. So Teams allow me to come here and then chat in French, and using the translate feature that you saw, my team members will be able to translate this into the message of their team clients. If I'm using Teams in Arabic, it will be translating Teams in Arabic. If you're using Teams client in Spanish, you get it translated in Spanish. If you read it in English, it translates in the language of the web client, right? So it allows you, if you have a diverse teams, which is the case today, where most of the team are diverse, you allow them to really come here and talk in the language where they feel more comfortable with. Obviously, it's translation, there might be some accuracy problem, but at least it gives you that functionality as part of the product. From a team engagement perspective, right? Announcement, we're still seeing people sending emails for announcing new hires or, people reporting. You really don't have to do it today. Today, you can really use Microsoft Teams to communicate within the organization about those changes, right? This is how you can draft a new hire announcement, give it a title, and then within that announcement, you can actually create another flow if you wanted to. That will provide to the new hire what he needs to do from this day forward, right? As part of this announcement, there can be a flow that can be initiated to do that. Use Microsoft Teams to obviously praise your teammates. Share praise, share recognition is really good for employee morale. So it's all part of the product. You just have to use that, share praise, and whatever you can. We are reaching, end of the quarter, so there's going to be a lot of all hands that need to be organized. CEO need to address their employees. It's the end of the quarters. How do you do that? With Microsoft Teams, we have what we call live events that allow you to have one-to-many conversations. And while those happens, you can have captioning and you can transcribe those conversations into 6 languages. So the CEO might be speaking in Chinese, for instances, and that will be translated into English, French, Spanish, for instances. So the live event is one-to-many. It's what we have right now. What we have right now is a live event where I'm speaking and you guys can only collaborate with me through chat, right? So it's really more appropriate for webinar types or all hands where the CEO need to address a large amount of people. It supports up to 10,000 viewers, not attendees. So viewers can be one room can have 10,000 people. That's just one viewers, right? So if you join from one unit, that counts as one viewer. So we support 10,000 today. So yeah, it's pretty good for town halls and then webinars. Last but not least is it's remote. Now we need to meet with people. As I mentioned before, you get into meetings, make sure you get your background set. Here we have someone, she used background blurs. Here on the top, use the customized background, your background blur on the left as well. So they have the meetings, and as the meeting going on, you see that we have live caption that you can activate as well. So you can, if you are in a place, let's say I'm in a Starbucks. Oh no, I can't be in a Starbucks today. Bad example. I'm at home in a place where I cannot really listen to this. So I can activate the captions and listen to it. Once the meeting is completed, the meeting gets stored into Microsoft Stream. Stream is like our internal video, our internal YouTube, especially for organizations. So you can store on Stream and then post on Microsoft Teams. So with Stream, what I can do, I can now imagine that I missed the meeting for some reason, but the meeting was 3 or 4 hours long. I don't want to be listening to the 3 or 4 hours of the meetings. By using Stream, I can now search for specific keywords. I can say, hey, show me into that meetings where they mention Eric. Search for Eric, and it will show me into that meetings where Eric was mentioned. Right, let me show that again to you quickly. So you're going to see what happened here. Meeting happens. I join the meetings. So we have all different backgrounds. Yeah, using different background on top right using a custom background. The top bottom use a blur, and the other one just use standard background. So meeting happens. We talked. We have live captions. That happens. So you don't have to listen to the recording live. So you can just mute yourself and then read the captions. The meeting is completed. You get posted into the Microsoft meeting channels. Now I go to the stream and now I'm looking for Mark 8. I'm going to search, click on the search bar and say, hey, look for Mark 8 on that recording. And it will give you here all the places where Mark 8 was mentioned within our recording. So these are really few examples on how you can use Microsoft Teams for your project, your processes, and to engage your people remotely today, right? So look at your project that you're working on today, look at some of your processes, people, and start thinking on how you can leverage those experiences into Microsoft Teams. That's all I had for today. I'm going to hand it over to our partner from Ribbon, Mr. Matt. But before I do, if there's any question on the chat window that I need to take, Matt, Erad.
Yes. Thanks very much, Eric. That was great presentation. We appreciate that. I've got two questions. One is from an anonymous dial-in customer saying, does the guest need to have a Teams license? So I presume that is someone who you've added to the team that is not an internal employee or indeed a Teams user.
Yeah, that's a good question. No, the guest does not need to have a licenses, but we have the user. So the ratio is 1 user can have 5 guests. So that's how you need to look at it. So if you have 20 licenses, you can only have 100 guests, for instance. It's a 1 to 5.
Thank you. And then final question from Waleed says, can he use sales cycle to review a contract? I presume he means in the workflow. And I imagine sales cycle is from Dynamics, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, can do that. Yes, absolutely.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much.
There is a last question.
Last question. Okay.
It's anonymous again. How to create webinars in Teams?
Oh, that's for you, right? You're the master
That's
of
for
this.
me. That's a question directly to me.
Yes.
So I mean, to create a webinar, you need to have the right license. So ideally, either Office 365 E3 or E5.
Right. So if I can share my screen, do I still have screen share? I can just show quickly how to do that. Let me see if I can share my screen. Just quickly show them how this is happening. So share. Sorry, Matt, just need a few seconds.
No worries.
Okay, share. So if you look at my screen here, I go to the calendar. Right. I'm on the calendars, and I can organize 2 types of meetings. So we have your standard meetings, which is the 2-way communication meetings.
You're not sharing your screen yet?
I'm not sharing my screen yet. Oh, sorry. I think I might be on the wrong. All right, can you see it now?
Yes, we can.
All right, sorry about that. So I go to my calendar tab, right? And you see on the top here, I can set up 2 types of meeting in Microsoft Teams. I can set up a standard meetings. This is a 2-way communication meetings that goes up to 250 viewers, or a live event, which is what we just have. So a live event, click on it, and then just give it a title. Right, and then decide who's going to be a producer, because a live event needs a producer. What Rad is doing for us today, Rad is producing this event for us. So he's pushing the deck, he's pushing the speaker as well. So you need a producer and decide who's going to be a presenter. So you add all those team members here, right? Give it a time zone, time frame. So this is it. This is fine with me. And now you need to tell to a live event, is it going to be for your organization or you want to be public? So you define what high is going to be. And then you say if you're going to have Q&A into your meetings, if you want to have an attendee engagement report sent to you, if you want to enable captioning as well. So this is how simple you enable that. So you can do this by using your camera on your laptops as your video devices. But you can also bring external devices if you wanted to. If you have a studio type recording at home, you can bring those studio video devices as your input devices to your live event meetings. Does that answer the question?
I think that's good. Thank you very much. One last question before you go. Conscious of time, if anybody has further questions on this segment, please log them, and we will come back to you at the if there's time at the end of the event, or we will obviously answer them directly. But one last question before you go.
Sure.
Bilal has asked, if you've got a guest who's going to be part of your teams and you share a file, can you secure the file from being forwarded on from him or her?
Yes. If you apply AIP on the file itself, but the file need to be will have to have the label before you share it. So you have to make sure the file is already labeled. It's not going to happen afterwards. So the file should be labeled for confidentiality.
Yeah. So you can create it perhaps using Azure information protection labeling, something like that.
Correct.
And then once you've sent it, then you have protection from that basis.
Exactly. So that happened on the file itself, not on Teams.
Very good. Okay, well, thank you very much indeed. Apologies, Matt, over to you.
No problem at all. Just check that you can hear me okay and the screen share is good.
Yes, that's all good.
Okay, fantastic. All right, thank you everyone for joining us today. I do trust everyone's safe and well and more than likely working from home, as we all are these days. But it's thanks to technology such as this that we're using today that enables us to continue on with our business. So my name's Matt Hurst. I'm Technical Director over at Ribbon. So I've been working in the channel space for many years now, specifically around a lot of the Microsoft technologies around OCS, Link and Skype, and now Teams. What I wanted to go through today was a few slides that first of all kind of look at the traction of what's happening in the market, but then also look at where Ribbon fits, and as you can see from the title of the slides, connecting teams through the rest of the world. So Eric's done a fantastic job of outlining the capabilities of the collaboration elements of Teams, the things you can do for you and the power it brings to your remote workforce. So when it comes to the telephony part of things, how do you connect Teams to the rest of the world such that you can use that collaboration platform to not only make Teams-to-Teams calls between your company and other companies, but also to make phone calls in and out to non-Teams devices? How can you integrate it perhaps with your existing voice system that you may have in an enterprise? And how can you move from an existing voice system to Teams to become your phone system, to become your PBX? So first of all, having a look at briefly some of the numbers. Teams is getting huge traction right now. There's some numbers on the screen here that just sort of show you how many organizations are using Teams, how many countries it is available in, etc. One of the most interesting stats, which was actually released by Microsoft this Sunday, just gone yesterday, they have seen, obviously with the current global situation, a 775% increase in usage. So Teams is huge, and it's one of the biggest platforms that enterprises are now using for collaboration. If you look at the data charts, we're way past the November 19 figure there that shows 20 million users. We're actually now at 44 million daily active users on Teams. Where Ribbon comes in, as I said, we work with partners, with enterprise customers, connecting that Teams deployment to the rest of the world, collecting the telephony of your voice trunks into your Teams cloud. So on that, again, we're seeing a huge increase in the number of Ribbon SBCs, session border controllers, security devices to connect the voice into Teams. We've now got way in excess of 1,000 active SBCs deployed for what we call direct routing, and I'm going to talk about what direct routing is shortly. We also have, it's actually much higher than this now, I haven't updated this slide, more than 350 SBCs in Azure. And again, we're going to look at where you can put these session border controllers and what they do for you. But you can either have them as an appliance or as a virtual element that can be spun up in Azure. So again, we're seeing a huge growth in the number of session border controllers required for these Teams deployments. Now, that's my last slide on the numbers. We did some market research back in April of last year, and we talked to enterprise customers of varying sizes. You can see along the bottom here the size of the number of employees in the enterprise, from very small SOHO SME all the way up to large enterprises. And we asked the question of what's your plans with regards to Teams? Have you deployed? Are you planning it? Are you not even aware what it is? And it's interesting to see that either deployed or deploying is a large percentage. But equally interesting is the areas in the pink or the red and the yellow there is the number that are planning or not planned yet. So there is a huge opportunity there across the board for new customers coming on board and adopting Teams as their UC collaboration platform of choice. And we also asked those companies that were planning or deploying right now the Microsoft Teams solution, how are you going to use it? Are you going to use it with the Microsoft calling plan? And I'll talk about what that is. Or are you going to use it with direct routing? And you can see that the largest majority, 79%, are planning on using the full Teams experience, IM, presence, collaboration with direct routing. So what is that direct routing? So if you look at Teams in Office 365, so within Office 365, you have Microsoft Teams, and within that is an optional element called the phone system. So the phone system is what enterprises may be used to calling the PBX, the private branch exchange. This is what provides you telephony from your Teams client. So you get the dial pad comes up, so you're able to make calls and also receive calls in. Now, how do you make that connection into that Teams cloud? You can connect a SIP trunk from a carrier of your choice, and you can connect it in via a session border controller. That's referred to as direct routing. So bringing in your existing telco, your existing local carrier, connecting it through a session border controller, and that then provides the telephony in and out of your Teams in Microsoft Office 365. The other option for getting telephony is what we call Microsoft calling plans. So Microsoft have made available the ability for you to port your phone numbers to them, and they can provide you calling plans in certain locations around the globe. So Microsoft becomes your carrier. You move away from your existing carrier that provides your telephony minutes, and Microsoft provides you different calling plan options for your users. Now, you can see here the vast majority, 87% of customers are using direct routing. And let's have a look and explore why that may be, why enterprises are preferring the direct routing path to the calling plans. There's a number of reasons. It could be that the phone system calling plan doesn't meet the enterprise budget that you have for your telephony. It may not be available in the location that you have offices. The call-in plans are only available in certain locations geographically. It takes a very long time to address all the regulatory requirements to become a telephony carrier. So the Microsoft call-in plans are not available globally. It can also be that the customer that you're talking to, or you as an enterprise customer, is in the middle of an existing contract with your carrier, and it's going to cost them money to get out of that, penalty fees. It could also be that they're very happy with their carrier. It could be that they get a really good calling plan rate from their existing customer, their existing carrier, because they've been with them for so long. So they may want to stick with them. And the other reason is that they have an existing PBX on premise. They have some analog devices which they want to interwork with Teams. And we're going to have a look at that and how we can overcome that challenge of interworking the existing equipment with the cloud service in Microsoft Teams phone system. So they're the sort of reasons that enterprises are really erring towards the direct routing. And the thing that Microsoft have done brilliantly with Microsoft Teams in the cloud is they've made this direct routing option very, very straightforward and simple. All you've got to use is a certified session border controller, such as the ones that Ribbon can offer you. We work with Microsoft dev team and test team extensively to verify our products and our SBCs with the Teams solution. Microsoft have our equipment in the dev labs, and they interop test every single update to make sure that the session border controller that is qualified for Teams will work, and there will be support provided from both the vendor, Ribbon, and also from Microsoft in the event that there's a query or a question. So they've made it very simple. You don't have to go through lots of testing and certification, and as long as you're using the right session border controller, the right software version that has been designed for this Teams direct routing, you're good. So flexibility, I think, is the key word for the next couple of slides. So customers who are moving their unified communications to the cloud into Teams, you've got to keep in mind flexibility as you do this migration. With the Ribbon solutions, you have to bear in mind that the carrier could be any carrier, dependent on geographic location and customer choice. So with this session border controller in place, either hardware or virtual, we're going to talk about that shortly, you have the flexibility to deploy any SIP trunk provider, direct routing service straight into the Teams cloud. You also have the ability to migrate and coexist from Skype for Business Online and Teams. And that's important for customers who've started their journey with the Skype for Business Online. You can also coexist and migrate from any existing on-prem UC-based solution. You can integrate legacy PBXs and telephony devices such as fax machines and elevator phones, for example. You can maintain your existing SIP-based devices and handsets, and you can also deploy and integrate some of the new Teams devices. So all of that is possible with the flexible solutions of having a Ribbon SBC as part of your deployment. The next slide, we're going to have a look at where do you geographically locate the session border controller function. And again, flexibility on this slide. Where you deploy your session border controller will vary dependent on where you are in your journey to the cloud and also what your geographic makeup is of your different office locations. So on this slide, we're looking at Teams in the Azure cloud. Over on the right here is your what we call digital nomads, the people that, when they're allowed to, are going to work from Costa Coffee or from a hotel, for example. And then over on the left here, this is your HQ site, your core site. So you can choose to put your session border controller, here we're showing on the larger Ribbon SBCs, in your HQ, perhaps in a couple of data centers in an HA environment. You interconnect all of your SIP trunks into the Teams cloud. If you don't want it on premise and you have no need for the device, the session border controller on premise, as I mentioned earlier, you can deploy it straight in Azure cloud. So in this case, there will be no session border controller on premise. It's deployed in Azure. It sits alongside the Teams and it connects from your carrier straight through on a SIP trunk into the Teams cloud. You also may have locations where you want to deploy the session border controller at the edge. So in your smaller branch office locations, your remote office locations, you need to or want to connect a SIP trunk locally to that device. Here you can see lots of different sites with different requirements to integrate other devices, fax machines, alarm bells, your local telco connection via an ISDN or an analog line, for example. And we're also showing here physical devices and virtual devices. So the session border controllers from Ribbon, physical, virtual, it's your choice, same functionality. So for those edge devices, those locations where you have an edge device such as the Ribbon SBCs, it's not just about connecting into your SIP trunk into Microsoft Teams. We're very much more around providing additional security and additional functionality to assure that your Teams experience and your connectivity to your SIP trunks is assured and is reliable, and you have resiliency built into that, as well as integrating and providing that migration path from the legacy devices you can see here connecting in with the green arrow. So service assurance is critical when it comes to Teams. So Microsoft have a huge investment in infrastructure to make sure that the cloud elements is fully resilient to provide that level of assurance for your voice services in the cloud. But what about your connectivity to your sites? So Ribbon have the ability with our solutions. Here we're showing one of our EdgeMark session border controllers as an edge device, connecting in various Teams users, video collaboration, file servers, everything to the internet. So what happens if your primary connection, your connection through the internet to the Office 365 cloud goes down? There's the option for failover resiliency over an LTE connection, for example, on board from one of the Ribbon EdgeMark devices. It could be that this connection is a SIP trunk. It also could be an ISDN circuit, so a legacy circuit connected. So even if the internet goes down, you've still got your legacy voice circuit connected. By having this failover resiliency for Teams traffic specifically across an LTE, you can maintain your working in that remote office in the event of any type of outage. So let me show you now a quick snapshot of the Ribbon devices that can enable this connectivity and resiliency. So you can see here in the middle of the screen the EdgeMark devices I was just talking around, and I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on our EdgeMark 6000 because that's one of our latest devices. It's got some very exciting features on there. We also have the Session Border Controller 1000 and 2000. They're all Teams and also Skype certified as well for that migration and coexistence. And then there's the virtual instance called the SWE Lights, which can be spun up directly in the Azure cloud. So overarching all of these virtual appliances or physical appliances is what we call our EdgeView Service Control Center. This is a central management platform where you can control and get visibility for all of your edge devices, and you can get statistics, proactive monitoring, reporting, alerts and diagnostic information such that you can see what's happening down at those edge locations where your connectivity is. So let's have a little bit more detailed look at the EdgeMark 6000, because this is our latest platform and it includes some very interesting features which enable that resiliency and that functionality I talked about on the previous slides. So the EdgeMark 6000 is our next generation platform, which is built on an ARM-based processor in order to obviously keep the costs low but the performance high in terms of the functionality. This platform, as well as all the other EdgeMark platforms, are all able to be provisioned with what we call zero-touch provisioning. So you don't need an engineer on site to connect the box and configure the box. You ship the box to site. You can see on the back there are color-coded ports to connect the wide area network and the local area network connections to. And then from the zero-touch provisioning server in the EdgeView Cloud, you're able to provision that box dynamically. The EdgeView Service Control Center, as I mentioned, does the zero-touch provisioning. It also provides that monitoring, management, support of up to thousands of these remote boxes across your estate. The EdgeView is also capable of being multi-tenant, such that you can have multiple customers hosted off of one server. You can segregate it such that the data and the view into the single customer instance is restricted to just that one customer. This EdgeMark 6000 has onboard legacy interfaces. At Ribbon, we realized that whilst there is a large drive to the cloud and to virtualized applications, there is still a requirement for enterprises to have some type of legacy connectivity for TDM, ISDN E1, T1 circuits, as well as analog devices to connect emergency phones, maybe lift elevator phones, door entry systems, alarm bells, all these types of devices. Once the old PBX is gone from your premise, you're going to still need a few devices to connect via legacy interface. So the EdgeMark 6000 platform has those interfaces on board to be able to use to connect in those legacy devices. It also has on board LTE, 4G, and we're working now with the 5G module inside the box as well, so that will be available later this year for that resilient connectivity. So with that multiple WAN connectivity from your sites, you're able to choose and prioritize, what's your most important traffic? Do you want to prioritize your Teams traffic over and above all your data or email traffic? Of course you do. You need to make sure that your real-time apps are delivered first and foremost. They got the lowest latency, and if there's an outage, they're the first apps to get rerouted over your LTE connection, for example. You can have resilient fiber links as well into this EdgeMark 6000, so you can have actually up to 3 different WAN links, 2 sort of copper or fiber links, and then 1 LTE. And the platform is Teams certified, so you're able to use it as one of those qualified certified devices to connect your SIP trunks, your local legacy interfaces into the Microsoft Teams cloud. Okay, that brings me to the end of the slides. Just to give you a quick run through, if there's any Q&As.
Oh, thanks very much. We don't have any live Q&As at the moment. I'm sure there'll be more to come because we're actually still fielding some questions from the last presentation. But we'll keep them ticking over, and obviously we'll reply both in the forum if we get time, and also individually to everybody as we go along. Thanks very much. A lot to take in there. I'm sure it was very valuable. Certainly was to me. And I think we'd like to hand over to Christophe, who's going to bring us home on the home stretch. So over to you, Christophe.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me well.
Yes, we can hear you and see you. Please go.
Excellent. So good afternoon, everyone. So a quick introduction for myself. So I'm Christophe HERRERIAS. I look after the alliance with Microsoft across EMEA. I'm working for Poly I've been working for Poly for the past 15 years. Was in charge of channel and distribution, and then a country manager for France and North Africa. And I qualify myself as a smarter worker for the past 7 years. So smarter working is a concept that is now pretty well known, but it's basically the capability to give any employee the possibility to work from anywhere, anytime, as long as it fits the benefit of the company. So that's really what we implemented at Poly 7-8 years ago, and that works extremely well. And in this time of confinement with COVID-19, I must say that this has been extended to many other people who are new to this concept. And remote working is something that needs to be practiced, understood. So it needs a little bit of time, but it relies really basically on three main concepts, three main pillars, what we call bricks, bytes, and behaviors. So bricks being basically the setup that you have around you, bytes being the technology that you leverage to make it happen, to make it work. And behaviors is what Eric mentioned in the beginning, is also how you change the culture within your organization so that you keep in touch with your managers, you keep in touch with your colleagues, partners, and customers across the day, that you also make time for you, for well-being, etc. So the water cooler concept, for example, is something that we practice on a daily basis as well. And basically, it's moving away from a culture where you manage people or you work with people based on time you spend with them, and really basically managing by trust, and being also an example for you, the rest of your colleagues, as an example. So that being said, I'm moving forward to the presentation today, which is focused on work from home, but not only. I'm also going to cover a little bit what happens in the office space and in the room space for meetings, especially. Just a quick one on Poly. So who is Poly? For those who do not know the name yet, basically Plantronics acquired Polycom over a year ago, and we decided to rebrand in March last year as with one single name, Poly. Poly is basically the capability for the fact that we are able to have communications with many people, one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-many. So that reflects basically the goal of this company as well. Moving forward, and how we are able to drive best collaboration experience on Microsoft Teams. I'm just going to start saying our mission here is making sure that we do not leave endpoints to chance. Why that? The first thing is basically, as I mentioned earlier, work is no longer the place you work at. It's not the office. Work is really what's your task, what you have to do. And that may happen anywhere. So it can happen in the office, of course, private offices, open spaces, hot desks. But in many other situations, we now see that the environment of work has changed. We see a large increase of huddle rooms, conference rooms. People tend to work more and more remotely, whether on the road or at home, like right now. And what we see from a research that we requested a few 2 years ago is companies who provide the right devices to align with work styles are 62% more likely for high or increased adoption of the collaboration platform. Okay, so that's really critical. So at Poly, every 2 years, we refresh a survey where we identify who are the key personas in a company. So what are the different user profiles, the different use cases, how they work, what are their constraints, etc. And from that survey that we run every 2 years, we define the new portfolio or the evolution of the portfolio. Eric gave a very good presentation of Teams. What I have to say also is Teams is probably one of the most powerful solutions that Microsoft ever launched in the market. Yet, people are not using all the possibilities of Teams. And one of them that is underestimated at this point of time is using Teams not only for file sharing, chat, etc., but also using it for video and for calls. Okay, and in that respect, in order to realize the full potential of Microsoft Teams, it is also up to IT, up to the employer, to make sure that employees get the right tools, the right devices to make it really work and take full advantage of the collaboration platform that is available to them. So when I speak about Poly and Microsoft, so it's a long-established collaboration, and from our point of view, today only Poly is able to deliver really end-to-end solutions around Teams. So not only we'll see that from the portfolio, not only end-to-end solutions, but also game-changing quality, innovation, and have a global infrastructure and expertise to provide world-class support and service around the globe. If I look at the history with Microsoft, both Plantronics and Polycom started in the very early stages, from LCS to OCS to Link to Skype for Business, and now with Teams. I'm just going to provide you a highlight of the key hero products that were announced at Ignite in November 2019. And basically, all of these announcements basically brought Poly to be really considered not only as the end-to-end solution provider, but also by Microsoft really as being able to provide not only the devices, the peripherals that you know us for, so the headset, the speakerphones, video systems, etc., but also for services and management capability. Okay, so that's also important to keep in mind. So now going a little bit into the detail of the solution that we are able to provide you with to equip your meeting rooms and office spaces and also home office equipment. I'm going to start with the room solutions. The room solutions, basically, if you move to Teams, if you come from Skype for Business and migrate to Teams or have other systems in place, basically there are a few strategies for you. The first one that we aim to push, of course, is to move to native Teams devices, because those will provide the native Teams experience, the native Teams management capability, etc. But you also have legacy systems in place, which are not native Teams devices. And for those, there is a possibility to bring video interoperability and bring them to Teams meetings as well, and provide a consistent user experience in the same way as the native Teams experience. So going a little bit, drilling down into that, if you have a look at the rooms definition from Microsoft, you see now that we have basically 5 key types of rooms, and those types of room will be equipped whether with what we call bring your own laptop, bring your own PC, or via collaboration bars that we're going to look at, or MTRs, Microsoft Team Room Systems. Okay, so it's completely flexible based on the size of the room and the goal. If I start with bring your own laptop, the easiest experience probably is to equip the huddle room or the small meeting room or the private office. Actually, you could even consider having it one like this in your at home if you run webinars on a regular basis, etc. So the Poly Studio is a USB media bar which provides everything you could dream of. Basically, hi-fi stereo sound. It provides 4K digital camera with group framing, speaker tracking, split view if you have 2 people speaking at the same time, etc. So it is extremely easy to use, completely automated, and it is certified for Microsoft Teams. If you go into the small meeting room and you want to have something extremely easy to set up in less than 3 minutes, we advise the collaboration bars. This is completely new. This was announced at Ignite. So those collaboration bars are appliances. Basically, they run on Android 9, and we are able to run native applications on it. In this case, the native Teams application is currently being rewritten by Microsoft, and in the coming weeks, it will be available and you will be able to run your Studio X30 with native Teams app directly on it. And this provides a very easy setup. Again, you will find all the audio and video capability from Poly, so the 4K digital camera with all the group framing, speaker tracking capabilities, hi-fi stereo sound, etc. And this can be managed if you are in a huddle room, in a small meeting room, directly via a touch display, or through an external TC8, so touch screen controller of 8-inch, or from the Poly Trio devices, which are eventually already equipping your offices. And last, of course, is if you move to larger spaces, so a medium-sized room, a large conference room, or really something that you need to, I would say, shape on demand based on the size of the room and the requirements, you move to the Microsoft Teams rooms. At this point of time, we team up together with HP and Lenovo to build our MTRs. And we provide all the peripherals around them based on the requirements of the customers. And in the coming days, we will be announcing also a Poly MTR. So we will have a single vendor for an entire solution. So stay tuned because that will be announced in a few days from now. The last one that I mentioned earlier, which is really critical, is we have a huge install base of Polycom solution in the market. So basically we have trios with a Visual Plus, Visual Pro, with group series systems, etc. Those are not native Teams devices. Yet we're able to provide what we call a CVI, so Cloud Video Interoperability Service, and at Poly this is called Real Connect for Teams, in order to provide a smooth path to basically interconnect your existing legacy devices to Microsoft Teams meetings. Okay, and this service is currently for free, okay, until end of June 2020. So that gives you time to plan for the future. If you want to transition to Teams native devices, if you need interoperability with other services, or if you need to continue to be able to invite customers, partners from other companies to your Teams experience. So the CVI is there to address this need. Okay, so keep in mind, this is free until end of June 2020. I will give you the link at the end of the presentation. You can subscribe, you can claim for it for free. All these video devices, of course, can be managed. If they are Teams native, they can be managed directly from the Teams cockpit. If they are not native Teams devices, or even for the native Teams devices, you can also manage them from the PolyLens, which is our cloud-based solution, in order to manage all the video devices, and which will expand also to voice devices in the coming months. Moving now to voice solutions for Microsoft Teams. For voice solutions, I will start in this case with all the headsets that we have in the portfolio, especially now with the new Teams certified headsets. So what do the Teams certified headsets bring compared to what we had in the past? The first thing is that they come up with a Teams button. This Teams button provides a capability to invocate the Teams app to be brought to the foreground of the laptop of your screen. It also allows to bring Teams notifications, so it can send visual or audible indications to the peripherals when you are connected. So if you receive another call, if you get a notification from someone else, etc. It also improves the audio specifications of the devices based on the new audio requirements from for Teams. And it makes it very clear for your users that the devices they are using are Teams certified because of the logo, so that there is no hesitation on that. They can definitely use it for Teams. It is plug and play with call control button, mute control, etc., etc. If I drill down a little bit in the details, I'm not going to go over all the products, but basically we launched new certified Teams devices, including corded headsets like the Blackwire series. So we start with the entry level with the 3300 series, but expanding also to the mid-range and high-range solutions. We also introduced speakerphones, personal speakerphones like the Callisto 3200 and 5300. So these are 360 degrees microphones with a hi-fi stereo quality and the capability to connect over USB through a corded through a cord or through a USB Bluetooth dongle as well. And all of these SKUs are also available in USB-A and USB-C. So it makes it very easy, very versatile, so you can really equip anyone in your company to work from home or to work remotely. We also brought to the market now the Bluetooth devices. So you know the Voyager series. So we have updated the Voyager series to make sure that it's also Microsoft Teams certified, also with the Teams button. So we started with the Voyager 4200 and the 5200 that you know, with a dedicated Teams button as well. And finally, we also introduced the 3-in-1 series, also Bluetooth, because basically people now tend to use not only their PC, but also the smartphone and eventually the desk phone. So having a dedicated base allows to have this dual connectivity from the base to the PC and to the desk phone, plus the Bluetooth connectivity from the headset to the base and to your smartphone. So basically it is a 3-in-1 that you are able to use for any kind of communication, whether standard mobile or desk phone, but also of course Teams communications and with one single headset. I give you here the different elements. What I wanted to say here just before moving to the next one is for all the legacy headsets that we have today, there will be able to be Teams. They are already Teams compatible, but they will also have the capability to have the same Teams capabilities like the invocation through a firmware update. So I will mention that later on. The other thing that we brought to the market, which is probably excellent, especially for homework users, is a mobile phone station. So the mobile phone station expands the capability of the smartphone by adding a true station with dial pad, with display, with a remote charging capability. So I would say wireless charging capability, so that basically the user is completely safe to use his mobile in the right way, continue to use video capability on a mobile docking station. You see here the dock can be put up hold to do mobile to do video conversations, etc., etc. And you have different versions of the mobile phone station with or without a headset, with or without a handset as well. So from a user perspective, working from home, you do not necessarily need a traditional SIP desk phone or Teams desk phone. The mobile phone station is also a very good solution, especially to work from home. Okay. I mentioned earlier firmware update for all your existing headsets across the company, even if people are working mobile or are working from home. We have a tool just like Polylens today dedicated for headset, which is Plantronics Manager Pro, which not only provides IT with the capability to see the entire list of assets across the enterprise, but also enables them to manage policies, firmware updates, etc. And this will be extremely useful, especially as you migrate to Teams and you want to update all your existing base to make all your legacy headsets Teams compliant with all the capabilities that I mentioned earlier. Moving to desk phones, we introduced at Ignite also the CCX line, which is our first range of desk phones, which are Teams certified. And we designed them really to be intuitive and future-proof. If you look at our range today, basically we are able to address the common area phone, the standard office worker, I would say, but also the knowledge worker and the executive or the manager. So with the same platform across the board, basically we're able to support all the different needs, again, with or without handset, with or without headset. I'm not going into the details of the new range of Teams phones. They are available now, so you can start looking at them and make your transition to native Teams devices. Also, the Trio system, so the conference phone, is already Teams certified, so you can just update it and load the Teams update to it, and it will run in native Teams mode as well. Okay. Now, if you used to run Trio also for video conferences with Visual Plus or Visual Pro, keep in mind that in this case you will need Real Connect for Teams video interoperability service. Last but not least, we just passed all the different products we have in the portfolio for Teams today. In order to help you migrate to Teams, there are a few common pitfalls that we help you avoid with our Teams services. So we mentioned that CDW is able to support with this migration to Teams. Within Poly, we have dedicated services around envisioning, network readiness, adoption consulting services, and user migration services. So we can complement the service and bring that to you to make a smooth transition to migration to Teams and adopt the services. What I wanted to highlight as well at the end of the day is just give you a complete overview of the portfolio that we have today around Microsoft Teams, provide this native Teams experience across the board, or provide Real Connect interoperability, which is very similar, which really mimics the Teams native experience as well. And to finish on this, you will find that in the deck that you will receive. We have a few offers to support that. Maybe the first one I would like to highlight is work from home dedicated web page to learn and get useful tips to enable your remote workers, and then go into the different offers that we have for you to ease your migration to Teams and the use of Teams to leverage the entire capabilities of these great collaboration solutions. And with that, I think I finished and I can hand over back.
Thank you, Christophe. Very good. Very deep. I've already got a list of devices that I quite fancy for my own desk. So thank you very much for taking us through the product portfolio. We are done pretty well there. We're 7 minutes over time. So thank you to all the presenters for keeping pretty much to time and for delivering a lot of content in a relatively short period of time. As I said, there are a number of questions across the platforms which we will respond to directly to users. I'm conscious of everybody's time, been on the call for an hour and a half. So there'll be all the content will be sent to everybody who's registered today. There'll be some one-to-one reach outs for particular as what we see as quite complex questions. So thank you for those. We will ensure that we give you a call and the appropriate speaker will contact you directly. And I thank you for your attendance. So with that, I just wish you and your families best health and best wishes from CDW. And we hope it's not too long before we can welcome you back to a live event at the Burj Khalifa, Burj Al Arab one of those venues in Dubai. Thank you very much.